Most people don't know this, but you can buy a 2026 Toyota BZ Woodland with a $5,300 discount using this weird trick. What does any of that have to do with the Subaru Trailseeker we're driving right now? Kiddo?
Here's how much the Subaru Trailseeker costs.
The Subaru Trailseeker and Toyota BZ Woodland are both new for 2026, and they are virtually identical. The exact same dual motor all-wheel drive system, same battery, same range. For some reason, the Subaru has 0.1 inches more ground clearance. I'm not sure why that is, but they're really, really close to being the same car. They look ever so slightly different from the front with like the headlight design, but they're basically interchangeable. And yet, for some reason, the Subaru has a $5,300 lower base price. What is this wizardry? Cue the wizard, sweetie. We'll dive deeper into the pricing mystery in just a second, but first, let's talk about this interior. The very first thing I noticed was, oh look, it's an adorable little steering wheel. My hands feel kind of close together. And then also, it's a squircle. It's my favorite word, kiddo. Stop saying squircle and chums.
Ew, chums.
So it's got a little bit of modernism, but it's also very functional. It's also kind of a creaky plastic space.
The aspect of the plastic I noticed was that it was gathering some scratches and a lot of dust was showing on it. But aside from that, there's a quality of like rugged futurism to this interior that I find very appealing. This dash looks sort of technical.
Masculine fishnet?
Maybe. There's also a lot of storage in here. The door holds multiple bottles. There's a pocket for your phone. This console area is great. There's storage underneath it. Room for 2 wireless phone chargers.
Standard.
There are also charge ports beneath it if you do want to plug in.
The only downside of those wireless phone chargers is that they don't do a great job, even though they've got a grippy surface, holding a phone in place. I had one flip out and land in my lap over here. More pleasing though are the cup holders back here that are adjustable in size. And then we've got the double flip action center console. And it has a 2-layer thing where there's like 1 layer and then another layer beneath that. I also like that in the rear doors, more bottle storage, and it'll hold my 20-ounce Yeti mug. I guess it's more of a tumbler. I don't want drink aficionados coming after me.
Ooh.
Looking at infotainment, we have a standard 14-inch screen with wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto smartphone integration. And then that little screen up there is a 7-inch driver information display. Not a lot going on, but the things you need are there.
The HVAC controls are included in the infotainment screen, which sometimes I find a little confusing, but this is laid out in a way that's very clear, and I appreciate that what you'd be most likely to use while driving is a sort of knob.
With a little screen showing through?
Yeah, it looks great and it's super functional. There are shortcuts along the side that are super logical. Shortcuts here for things you'd use most often for driving, which I found super handy. Very simple, easy to use. And I always appreciate when the seat heater and cooler has an auto function. Set it and forget it.
You can't be bothered to think about your temperature. That's the car's job.
That's right.
Moving to the seats, I really like them. Great lateral support, doesn't impede my arm motion, like it's pressure point free.
I think they are super stylish and comfortable.
Seated behind my ideal front seat position, plenty of knee room. Headroom is great in the outboard positions. I wish the front seat sat up a little bit higher so I can maybe slide my feet under it, but I really don't need that much extra space. That middle position, my head's just barely touching the headliner, but it's pretty workable if you needed to sit in the middle spot because we got a flat floor. We also have standard rear USB-C ports and vents. Kiddo, how are you finding the back of the Trailseeker?
The seat is a little bit far out for my tiny legs. I can touch the ground, but it's a little uncomfortable, but overall it's pretty good.
And any issues climbing aboard?
Nope, not really.
Oh, and we do have a slight recline function in those back seats if you want to get a little bit of a lean on. Moving to the cargo space, there's 31.3 cubic feet of space. And I'm not sure why that's about 2.5 cubic feet less than Toyota identifies for the BZ Woodland, because it really should be the same. Maybe it's an accounting situation in terms of how they measure the space. Regardless, there's plenty of space back there for cargo. And the underfloor area, there's a bit of space under there, or you can drop the load floor if you need extra space on top. Bonus nook on the right side, and then remote seat releases that you can pull from the cargo area that drop the 60/40 split seats. And accessing that cargo area, you do so through a standard power lift gate, and ours has the optional kick function, and it worked the first time. Amazing. Sweetie, what's the car seat situation?
The Trailseeker has 3 top tethers as well as lower anchors in the outboard positions. All the anchors are easy to access. I'm 5'2", behind a workable front seat position for myself, there is plenty of room for a rear-facing car seat.
As for safety, the NHTSA has not rated the Trailseeker, and then the IIHS has not named it a top safety pick, and they do have a rating for it, but it's based on the Toyota BZ, which is very similar, but not exactly the same. I don't know. But we do have a full suite of active driver assist technology, plus 8 airbags standard. Rear window test. All the way down, a sleepy child. Good job. Armrest test. Driving in a comfortable 8 and 4. There's a little bit of a squish factor here, but it's kind of...
That sounds like a...
Yeah.
It doesn't sound squishy.
It sounds like CSI. And then on the outboard, that's just plain hard and very unpadded. I'm wavering between a 2 and a 3, but I'm gonna go with the 3 on the Micah Muzio Fuzzy Bunny Armrest Test. You know what's more comfortable though than these armrests? Flying eyes eyewear, especially if you're a pilot or a motorcyclist. The super thin temples are made to slide comfortably under a headset or a helmet with 1 millimeter thin temples that bend. It's so comfortable. If you'd like to learn more, check the link in the description below. Moving on, number 2, in motion. The sole powertrain choice is a 74.7 kilowatt-hour lithium-ion battery pack paired with a dual-motor all-wheel drive setup. 281-mile range in the base premium trim, slightly less in the upper trims. And if you want to tow with your Trailseeker, it maxes out at 3,500 pounds. It'll charge at a max rate of 150 kilowatts using a DC fast charger. That means a 10 to 80% charge takes about 28 minutes. Not the fastest in the industry, but you do have the standard NACS port, so you can use the Tesla supercharging network, and a CCS adapter does come standard. Let's put that power to good use. Kiddo, count me down.
3, 2, 1.
Floored. Holy.
Whoa! It just kept going.
Isn't that unexpected?
Yes.
Man, when you get on it, it just really, really moves. That's the power of electrification. 4.4 seconds, 0 to 60 acceleration time. If you want to find one thing that will really dazzle you about the driving experience, that is it. A bit less dazzling for me is noise inside the cabin, especially...
Is it all the screaming? I'm sorry.
Yeah, there's this like shrieking sound and I haven't quite identified where it's coming from. Road noise is conspicuous, so a little loud bump. When you do go over like chattery pavement or big bumps, you hear it in the vehicle. You can hear things shaking a little bit. I'd love it if it felt a little more solid inside. So a little buzzy over imperfect surfaces, but for just general commuting, the Trailseeker works well enough. On the deceleration side of the equation, we've got 4 gradations of regenerative braking, so nothing now, and then I can get increasingly more of that regen, but we don't have a 1-pedal drive mode, so the Trailseeker will not bring itself to a complete stop, meaning I have to put my foot on the brake pedal, which I will do now, and let's see if I can bring this thing to a smooth, buttery stop.
Yes.
I haven't stopped yet. When I actually stopped, was it pretty smooth?
I mean, I didn't even notice, so yes.
Me neither. Wait, have we stopped yet?
We have stopped, yes, we've actually stopped now. The actual pedal feel can be like a little bit spongy, but it's workable. You can confuse your family with whether or not you have or have not stopped.
It's that smooth.
Steering the Trailseeker is not the most inspirational experience I've had, but it does go around corners in predictable fashion. And I think for the use case, most people, it's like the adventure is going to be where we're going, not necessarily the journey to get there. And if you want excitement, there's always that. On-road, the Subaru Trailseeker is generally competent, but I bet you're wondering, what's that thing like off-road? Doing a quick test off-road, nothing too crazy, but the softish suspension works well on these kind of bumpy roads. The underbody protection for the battery, it's like actually a pretty impressive looking plate. It almost looks like it was pulled from some other industrial purpose, so you're not going to pierce the battery if you come down on it with a rock or something.
It's probably reassuring having it be so visually present, though.
It is reassuring. What's not reassuring is the fact that we don't have a spare tire in the Trailseeker. That's really common in EVs, but a tire repair kit is not going to get you off the trail if you slash a tire. The other thing we get to exploit is something called X mode, and there's 2 levels. There's the snow and dirt, but we're going to go all the way up to deep snow and mud and do an articulation challenge. While not the gnarliest challenge, it's actually a pretty good little challenge here because we got like a V, and we're going to get 2 tires with great grip and 2 tires with terrible grip. And we're going to see if we can transfer power to the tires that will move us forward. Feel that?
Yeah.
You can feel us rocking and you can hear the creaking. Let's keep our foot in it and see if the Trailseeker can figure its way up this.
Oh.
It is funny because it kind of sounds like an RC car, like But we got up that no problem. You just got to believe in the power of X mode, keep your foot on the accelerator a little bit, and it will figure its way up. I'm always impressed with the ability to move forward even though we don't have a proper limited slip differential in Subarus. So really nicely done, Trailseeker. But what does Sweetie think about driving the Trailseeker? Challenge number 1, Sweetie. Use the drive selector.
I'm glad I've done this a few times. It confused me at first.
The middle is so conspicuous, it makes you think that that's a thing you need to push. But no, push the outer ring, rotate, and it eventually makes sense.
I kept wanting to push this to park, but no, it's here.
Pull us out there, though, and let us know what it's like using this for slow speed, kind of tight maneuvering. You feel like you got a sense of the dimensions?
I do feel like I have a sense of the dimensions. And one thing I appreciate is how this...
It really sounded like you were about to drop a curse word.
I was not. I appreciate how the steering wheel is shaped. It kind of subtly lets you know where it is in its rotation. I like it.
That's cool. Do you also like the physical buttons so you can pull up the camera view?
Yes. Although it's kind of a weird one. It flies around the vehicle.
Now pull far enough forward that you can do a reasonable U-turn, but tell us, what's it like U-turning?
I-turning is great.
Oh, and then any visibility challenges out of the vehicle?
I was concerned when I saw the high belt line, but visibility is great.
And now the part I'm looking most forward to. We're going to pull out here, Sweetie, and I want you to use whatever power you are comfortable using.
This really surprised me the first time I pulled out of this driveway.
Oh, jeez, oh boy.
That's pretty fun, actually.
Are you concerned using it, or is that
I probably should be. It's an outrageous amount of power, but I find it fun.
You look at the thing and you're like, oh, it's like a wagon. Among modern cars, this may be one of the most powerful sleeper cars available. What about steering this thing? You going where you want to?
I don't enjoy steering it necessarily. It feels kind of spongy, is a word I heard someone use earlier.
Squishy, mushy, oatmeal-esque.
The steering is not my favorite style of steering, but it doesn't sap confidence away from the driving experience.
With all that on the table, on a scale of 1 to 5, oh, you're driving kind of quickly, okay.
It's not intimidating to drive, but acceleration is actually pretty fun, so I'll give it a 2.
Right on, I'm getting back in the driver's seat. Quickly, thank you. Thank you for supporting our channel, liking, subscribing, leaving a kind comment, whatever you do to support us. It actually matters, so thank you guys. Moving onward to remarks. Remark number 1, what's under the hood? Let's do a little test inspired by my buddy Brian. Here's how you open the hood on the Subaru Trailseeker, and if you were looking for a frunk, you are out of luck. There's no frunk up there. There's just a bunch of technical wizardry. And then on the left side, that's where you can add the washer fluid. And if you're wondering what the Trailseeker's horn sounds like,
Is it fun wizardry?
We wouldn't have a wizard graphic if it wasn't.
Yippee!
Returning to this video's original question, how is it that the Subaru Trailseeker has a base price $5,300 lower than the Toyota BZ Woodland? The answer is Toyota basically skipped having a base level trim and just went to a higher level up, which is equivalent to the Trailseeker's limited trim. So the cheapest Trailseeker is $5,300 less than the BZ Woodland's cheapest version, but it's gonna have less equipment. The question though is do you care about any of that equipment? To help you answer that question, here's an extremely fast voiceover. The base BZ Woodland comes with a 360-degree camera system with multi-terrain monitor, parking assistance, a foot-activated rear liftgate, a cargo AC power outlet, Harman Kardon premium audio, a heated steering wheel, and heated second-row seats. Can you live without those features? If yes, save $5,300 and get the base Subaru Trailseeker. And even if you can't live without those features, still get the Subaru because at the same trim level, the base BZ Woodland versus the Trailseeker Limited, the Subaru is still $1,300 cheaper. Also, Subaru charges less for destination charges. Any way you slice it, Subaru is the value choice, which leads us conveniently to our trim recommendation. Our trim recommendation is which trim will give you the essential features you'd regret not getting, but at the lowest possible price. In the case of the Trailseeker, the base premium trim, they call it premium even though it's the base one, it includes a 10-way power driver's seat, heated front seats, a power liftgate, dual zone automatic climate control, and smart key access. Everything you need in a vehicle and then some. As for potential competitors, they include the Ford Mustang Touring Mach-E, the Hyundai IONIQ 5, the Honda Prologue, the Toyota BZ Woodland is a direct competitor. Oh, and let's toss the Rivian R2 into the mix as well. Did we miss any remarks? If so, tell us in the comment section. And now it is our daughter's time to shine. Child, can you tell us what is your favorite feature in the Subaru Trailseeker?
I like the armrest thingy because you can fit a green tea latte, a phone, and I'm too tired to think of another thing.
On that note, let's wrap this video up. Family, I think we've done a good job reviewing the Subaru Trailseeker 5. You. Come get your high five.